Would you please rise for the arrival of their Excellencies, the Right Honourable David Johnston, Governor-General of Canada, and Mrs. Sharon Johnston. You're close. Thank you for coming. Please be seated. I would like to invite the Principal and Vice Chancellor of Renison University College, Dr. Wendy Fletcher, to the podium.
Your Excellencies, your worships, honored guests, friends all, good afternoon. It is a privilege to welcome you here today to celebrate the opening of the newest academic building here at Renison University College. The opening of this new building reflects the hard work of so very many, and the future work of even more. We are very grateful to all of those who have labored to make this afternoon possible. Staff who developed this project from start to finish, thank you. Board and friends who have supported its realization in so many ways, we thank you. Of course, a building in and of itself, lovely as it may be, is rather value neutral. It is what this space represents, the life that will be lived within its walls, that will give it its meaning. This space represents for us here at Renison our future. It's symbolic of what we value and of where we are going as the Renison of tomorrow. So what do we value? Where are we going? My Lakota brother, Dr. Martin Brokenleg, consistently shares this wisdom from his tradition. A community's vision must be for 7 generations. When Bishop Robert Renison coined our school motto 56 years ago, he framed with his words a vision which would shape the work of this college well past his time. One sky over all. With these words, Renison's lens on the world of education was set. The table of our learning was laid. From its earliest programmatic vision, Renison's founders understood that educating the leaders of tomorrow meant an open table, where diversity was not just an idea but a way of life, practiced in our classrooms, in our hallways, and in our communities as preparation for the world that was coming. A new Canada, which would rise on the strength of its ability to live well with difference, just, humane, tolerant, equitable, fair. This was the Canada our founders believed in. A Renison education was to serve that ideal. Through the introduction, those many decades ago, of a programmatic focus here on international studies and social service through social work, Renison set its course. Engage the world in all of its diversity, serve the world, and by these 2 prongs, change the world. This was our founding vision. Today, we enthusiastically reflect that vision through our current programmatic foci as we plan for the next generation. First, social engagement and innovation, committed to preparing leaders to work as social change agents. Through our Social Development Studies Department, we provide tools for learners to advocate for and work toward the development of a world where the well-being of all communities is understood as a right. Through our School of Social Work, we equip learners to embody active compassion and advocate for systemic equity and space for all in our society to live with dignity and respect. Second, global engagement through languages and cultures. By our work in East Asian studies, studies in Islam, the humanities, applied linguistics, we equip learners with skills in language and cultural awareness. These skills enable communication across difference toward the building of a world in which we are able to meet each other in our humanity beyond those things which separate us and keep us from living in peace. As well, proudly standing as part of the University of Waterloo, we support its strategic direction toward internationalization through our extensive English language instruction. Thirdly, community engagement. Renison has always been in the community and in the world. Through our Centre for Community and Professional Education, we share the capacity of the Academy in a non-degree setting, reflecting Renison's multidisciplinarity as empowerment of learners, not necessarily in the university classroom, but beyond the university table, toward the realization of their personal and professional goals in the workplace, in the marketplace, and in the halls of public discourse. Engaged education for the well-being of the world, that is Renison. If you have ever met a Renison student, and I'm hoping you have, you will understand my meaning here. A Renison student does not stand still for the world as it is. A Renison student is impatient to participate in making the world as it can be, and through their education and their labor offer themselves into the breach between the world as it is and the world that is coming. Dear students, this building is for you. I would like to honor you today by saying we believe in you, in your courage, your imagination, your persistence. With you, we believe, the world will become the better place our founders once envisioned. Our students are joined in their zeal for a new day by their faculty and by our staff who support them daily on this journey in their best becoming. If you have met even a single Renison faculty or staff person, you will recognize the meaning of this line of poetry from Walt Whitman. He wrote, "When I give myself." That is the Renison team, not holding back, but throwing themselves, ourselves, wholeheartedly into this work we share. I honor you today, beloved team. With you, we can. Our board, donors, supporters, friends, faithful, constant, showing up just as we see today. We said to you, we have a vision of where we would like to go, space for the work that is falling out of the walls and out of the windows and beyond the doors of this place. We need a new space. We shared our dream with you. We said where we would like to go, and you said, let us help. And so we turn toward the future, unafraid, in the company of all of you, you who stand behind us and I know will not let us fall. I honor you today, dear board members, supporters, and friends. With you, we can. One sky over all, one ground holding all, one world. Education in the service of this vision has become the Renison way, and it is our future. Education changes lives. Changed lives change the world. Thank you all for your support of Renison, not only on this occasion, but in all the days that have come before and in all the years which will come after. That you have chosen to journey with us makes us strong and encourages in us the will to continue on the pathway we have chosen, the pathway to a world made more livable through the tools which a Renison education will provide. One sky over all, one ground holding all, one world. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. I invite the Chancellor of Renison University College and Albion Herald Extraordinary, the Right Reverend Ralph Spence, to introduce our esteemed guests.
It is a very happy and honored position for me to find myself introducing two guests which are really family to this university, well known to everyone present. Your Excellencies, it is a great honor and a privilege to have both of you here at Renison University College. An exciting time for both of us, for both of you coming and opening this new building, which will be used by Canadian and international students from far and wide. Your Excellencies, you both have left an indelible mark on the University of Waterloo and on this college. The legacy of your leadership, scholarship, and service that marked your time with us has continued and has been built on. Your Excellency, Sharon Johnston, you are a scholar, an author, a person of wise counsel, a chatelaine of sunshine to Rideau Hall, and you have touched thousands of Canadians and reminded them of the joy of being citizens of this great country of ours, Canada. Your Excellency, it is said in First Nations traditions that the white owl of the north calls out the name of the wisest in the land. A clear sound to the whole country comes down to us from this wise owl, and the name it calls is David. You, sir, have brought Crown and people together and have shown Canadians what we can do if we join together for this nation. Now it is my honor to ask Her Excellency, Mrs. Sharon Johnston, to say a few words, followed by His Excellency, the Governor-General of Canada. He's going to go first, is he?
No.
He's going to talk longer, all right. Please come forward now, yes.
We like to fight in public. But just so you know, I brought 3 hecklers, and I want them to move over so they can heckle. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. That's it. There you go. Find a spot, and don't heckle. There we go. Here. Your Worship, Chancellor Spence, Principal Fletcher. It's good. I talk loud. Mr. Ringrose, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs. It is a special occasion for David and me to be on the Renison University College campus to open your newest building. C'est une occasion spéciale pour David et moi d'être ici. It's hard to believe that just 5 years ago, David was president of the university and I was running a horse farm called Chatterbox Farm. We welcomed students, faculty members, staff, and generous donors into our wonderful home, surrounded by horse and buggy Mennonites. Our neighbors have remained our friends and made sure we kept up with the births, courtships, marriages, and deaths of their families. They gave us friendship and love. As an institution that will educate future social workers, Renison is close to my heart. I was raised by a single mother social worker who at 50 years of age returned to do a master's degree in the inaugural Rehabilitation Social Work Program at the University of Toronto. The year was 1966, the age of Aquarius, all touch and feel. This required adjustment on my mother's part, having worked for 20 years as a social work pragmatist. Old age pensions, disability benefits, mother's allowance put individuals and families back on their feet. But the new concept of rehabilitation provided practical education and sometimes university degrees rather than social assistance. David and I were finishing our own degrees in 1966 in the midst of social upheaval that tested everyone's values. But there's one value that never changes, and that is caring for people in need. That's why I'm so pleased to see so many great people here today at Renison, people who really do care. Now, Bishop Spence suggested I speak today about my recent novel, Matrons and Madams, because it touches on social issues that are not often spoken about, and you'll wish you hadn't done that. It covers an era after the Great War and up to the Great Depression, when prohibition, prostitution, vaccination, venereal disease, and sex education, think of Ontario and Kathleen Wynne today, were the public health issues of the day. Back then, of course, the internet did not exist to educate on those social issues. For instance, in the 1920s, the medical officer of health for Ontario hired a train and traveled to small towns with posters treating sexually transmitted diseases as a public health, i.e. social welfare issue, rather than as a moral disgrace. The novel is partially based on my grandmother, a well-trained British nurse, who immigrated to Lethbridge, Alberta, to set up the first venereal disease clinic in the province. She was, of course, the matron, not the madam in the book. That's why I've got hecklers. No clinic could be successful without the cooperation of the ladies of the night, who contributed to the spread of venereal disease. In those days, a significant percentage of Canadian military members were diagnosed with this and passed it on to their wives and girlfriends. Imagine what you as a social worker would do when faced with such a public health issue. Now, back to the present and my own continuing interest in social development and social work. For the past 5 years, I've traveled throughout all of the provinces and territories to witness innovative social practices to help the homeless, veterans, at-risk youth, drug addicts, alcohol abusers, and prostitutes. I have witnessed people living through some of these very difficult situations, but always with compassion. I've spent some time with the Vancouver Police Department, whose officers do social intervention on a daily basis. In fact, the city's east side is a living laboratory for social work. I visited a needle exchange clinic called Insight with Dr. Julio Montaner, who invented the AIDS cocktail, which is why AIDS is now not a death sentence. He described how drug addicts are taught to carry an opioid antagonist injection who is overdosed injection in case they come across a fellow addict who is overdosed on a heroin. They'll probably find him behind a dumpster. I had to stop for a moment to digest this fact. Despite debilitating drug use, addicts can still save another addict's life. This is a profound example of human caring. Vous faites un travail important à Renison. Je suis très heureuse de votre expansion and de votre succès. You're doing important work here at Renison. I'm so glad to see that you're expanding and having continued success. You're helping real people and making our communities and our country healthier and more caring. And I'll just say one more joke, he usually can joke, that when this invitation came in, initially for me, then they asked my husband, and he said, well, he said, I'm going to speak about professionalism. And I said, well, I'm going to speak about the oldest profession.
Well, I'm just breaking rule number 1, which is never follow your wife in a speech. It goes downhill from here. Thank you for such a gracious introduction, Bishop Spence, dear friend. You're right in your references. Sharon is Chatelaine of Sunshine. The nickname that our grandchildren, 12 of them, give to her is Granny Sunrise, because she rises before the sun, and that's when she starts writing her novels. My nickname is Grandpa Book, because I read books to the grandchildren. And I'll only have one anecdote about her book, Matrons and Madams. Madam is precisely what you think about it, the manager of the oldest profession. The matron was her grandmother, who was the lady superintendent of the hospital in Lethbridge, Alberta from 1920 to 1930. And at one of the book launchings, we had some of our grandchildren present, including the 2 8-year-old twins. And when the question period came, Nick put up his hand and said, would you please explain the title of your book? So my wife, being my wife, said, that's a very complex question. I'll ask my chauffeur in the back of the room to answer it. I'm the chauffeur, the trailing spouse. So well practiced in these maneuvers, I said, I'll tell you what, I will explain the first half of the title if Granny Sunrise will explain to her 8-year-old grandson the meaning of the second half of the title. And she failed the test. Sharon's book is, the royalties for it go to mental health research at the Royal Ottawa Hospital, where we were day before yesterday for a prize ceremony, and therefore I feel quite shameless in shilling the book to you. It's a great read. As I say, the royalties are going to a very good cause, and it is now in its third printing, which is pretty nifty. 2,500 copies in the first printing. They then did a second printing, and we learned yesterday that they're doing a third printing. So that's a lot of royalties for mental health research, so we're all for that. It's great to be home. It's so uplifting to be here. One of the observations I would make from us being away for the last 5 years is you look back on your community. Waterloo is a great community, and it is, but I didn't realize how good it is, how really good it is. When you see what's being done here in terms of collaboration, neighbor helping neighbor in so many ways. This morning, for example, we were at Ken, Barry, David, others were at the Schlegel Research Institute on Aging, a $50 million investment in how we age better. And Bob, 25 funded research chairs. 25 funded research chairs, sub-discipline. We'd break out cases of champagne if we got one research chair funded, eh, Bob? 25. So mark my words, within 10 years, we here will be doing the finest applied research on aging in the world, helping us all to age better. And that's happening right here through collaboration. I was with our Mounties that look after us coming down past Abram Eby's gristmill and saying we've gone from grain to brain here. On this corner stands not one, not two, not three, but 4 Governor General Architectural Award-winning buildings. I'm pretty sure that there is not another crossroads anywhere in this country that has more than 1 Governor General Architectural Award-winning buildings. We got 4. What's going on there? Is it the water in Silver Lake? What's in the water in Waterloo? There's something very special for those buildings and all that they represent. And here at this marvelous, marvelous University College, celebrating another great step forward in the advancement of learning. Wendy, as I was hearing you speak so eloquently, I thought of the vision of Bishop Renison, and all of you have carried that on, and the very special Renison students. And the lines that came to me could have been Walt Whitman, but they're George Bernard Shaw. Some people see things as they are and wonder why. We dream of things that ought to be and ask why not. So I will regard the Renison students from this point on as the why not people. Well, let me say a few more formal things, having expressed our great pleasure in being here amongst such dear friends coming back home. Nous sommes très heureux de revenir ici à Waterloo sur ce campus pour l'inauguration officielle du pavillon du Collège universitaire de Renison. How exciting to think of the studies of languages and culture, just to take one that Wendy referred to taking place here. A grasp of languages and cultures is essential to our success in our world today. A world, a trite statement, but true, of profound change and profound globalization. I've been fortunate as Governor General, Sharon and I, to take part in 43 international visits to different countries. So that works out to about 10 a year. So it's been a lot of different places outside of Canada. A literal world of opportunity exists for those who can engage with and understand cultures and languages. And we have such an advantage in Canada. We were founded on the principle of bilingualism and biculturalism. At long last, we're awaking again to our First Nations people's languages. And Canada, singularly amongst nations, welcomes immigrants to retain their heritage and add it to this very special diversity that is Canada. And what an opportunity that is. We speak more languages here than any other country in the world. We can take that parlance, that capacity to communicate every corner of the world. This new building is all about social and global engagement. So let me talk a little bit about some of the benefits of international education and experience. I often say the most important things in life I've learned from my children and my wife, of course. And I say that with a degree of literal truth. And let me just draw lessons from our 5 daughters on international study experiences, which began for them at age 12, when they actually left home, lived with another family, or were involved in some kind of engagement in a culture other than their own. 4 remarkable things happened to them as I observed their development from age 12 on. First of all, their natural curiosity was stimulated. The question why is on lips of every child almost as soon as they begin to talk. And we parents sometimes get very frustrated. Stop asking why, stop bothering me. What you want to do, of course, is encourage that all the time. But that continuation of the why, that curiosity, is enhanced by exposure to new people, new cultures, and new languages. Second one, their tolerance for diversity is broadened, and I mean tolerance in the best sense of the word, not just putting up with difference, but embracing it, looking forward to it, seeing it as something intriguing and engaging, and learning something about it. Having no choice but to face the unfamiliar, they learn to appreciate and respect change and people who are different from them in custom and belief. And guess what happens with that? Bigotry disappears. You don't have any place in your mind for bigotry because you're used to looking at things from a different angle. Thirdly, judgment's improved. They become aware of the limitations of their own knowledge, hesitant to jump to conclusions, looking for another angle on the issue, always being prepared to hear the other side of the story. And you know there are lots of other sides of the story. And to base their judgments on evidence. They grow in wisdom. And fourth, and this is something I discovered last of all in these three characteristics, the fourth characteristic is something very human. They became more empathetic. Not only were they better able to feel the pain of another's discomfort, but it went beyond that. They learned to place themselves in another person's shoes, to fit in those shoes and walk in them. Now, I may be demonstrating a bit of bias as a proud father, but I think all of you would agree that international experience and a global outlook can help people to develop these qualities of curiosity, tolerance, judgment, and empathy. And aren't they important qualities for any healthy community and society? In the complex, diverse, and globalized world we live in, these qualities can only help us all to succeed. This is not to mention the learning of languages, which are also so critical to understanding and appreciating others. I often speak of the benefits of practicing the diplomacy of knowledge, by which I mean conducting our learning across international as well as disciplinary boundaries. As Saint-Exupéry writes in Le Petit Prince, I am different from you, but because I am different, I do not diminish you, I enhance you. Or if you want that put a little more crudely, the bumper sticker goes, minds like parachutes work best when open. All of you here who are working and studying at Renison University College are engaging with others in this important sense. This new building is a beacon for global engagement through language and cultures. I'm inspired to think of the learning that will continue to take place here. So thank you for inviting Sharon and me to join in this wonderful opening, the next stage in this remarkable journey of Renison University College. Merci.
Thank you. It was marvelous. I'd like to invite the chairman of the Renison University College Board of Governors, Mr. Peter Ringrose, to thank their excellencies.
Your Excellencies, Sharon and David, on behalf of the community of Renison University College and everybody gathered here today, I would like to express our great excitement and gratitude to you for coming down today to officially open this building. We watch television coverage of you almost daily, your duties traveling across this great country, major events of state, summoning and dissolving parliaments, delivering speeches from the throne, representing Her Majesty at constitutional and ceremonial events throughout the year, and much, much more, despite what I'm sure is the huge number of requests for your presence that must be laid before you constantly. You've made a space to be with us here today for an event that's very important to us, and we really appreciate you honoring us with your presence. As you've heard, this Building for Global Engagement is a very welcome and significant addition for Renison, and will give us the potential to teach more students and to give them the kind of quarters and accommodation that they need in order to learn well. The importance of the mission of this building will be made even more apparent to all by the fact that none other than your excellencies came down to open it. Thank you very, very much for being here and for performing the official duties. I have a couple of small tokens to recognize our gratitude for you coming. They're right here. Okay. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just before we officially cut the ribbon and bless the building, it would be remiss of me not to mention that we have 3 former principals with us here today who also oversaw much building of this particular space we call Renison University College. Dr. Gail Cuthbert-Brandt, Dr. Bob Rosehart, and Dr. Glenn Cartwright. I don't know where Glenn is. Where's Glenn? There he is. And it's been my honor, you can tell that I've gone white from it, of working for all of them and helping put those buildings up. So we're pleased that they are here today. Now I'm going to invite their Excellencies, Dr. Fletcher, Chancellor Spence, and Mr. Ringrose to join us on the platform as we bless the new building and the ceremonial ribbon is cut. So my staff are going to take a few things away so we can do that.
Would you stand for the blessing, please? Loving God, we rejoice in the gift of this building, giving thanks for all who made this possible. Bless this space and those who use it, and grant that the learning which takes place here may build up a spirit of community and nature relationships between people around the world. God, we praise you and ask your blessing through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Now I'm going to say 1, 2, 3.
Cut on 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay. This is a big deal.
Big deal. For you, all right?
1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Now, our Excellencies have a few moments to visit with you all. I am going to invite the donors of named rooms in this particular building or in our lower level to come forward. We're going to get you ready for a photograph, but we'll let our Excellencies just meet a few other people first. So please enjoy the rest of your time here. Thank you so much for coming. It was a thrill to have you here. Thank you.